When you accidentally receive information that wasn't meant for you, especially something concerning your adult child, the initial reaction is often a complex mixture of shock, confusion, and emotional turbulence. Your mind races as you try to process what you've heard, and you may find yourself questioning everything you thought you knew about your daughter's life and relationship. This is completely normal and understandable. The human brain isn't designed to compartmentalize such unexpected revelations easily, and the parental instinct to protect and understand your child can make the situation even more overwhelming. The first step is acknowledging that your emotional response is valid, whatever it may be. You might feel betrayed, worried, angry, confused, or a combination of all these emotions. Some parents experience a sense of guilt for having heard something private, while others feel justified concern about their child's well-being. There's no right way to feel in this situation, but it's crucial to give yourself time to process these emotions before taking any action. Consider that your initial interpretation might be influenced by the shock of the discovery, and what seems clear in the moment might be more nuanced than it first appears. Take time to breathe and center yourself. This might involve going for a walk, talking to a trusted friend or counselor, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts. Remember that whatever you heard, it represents just one moment in your daughter's life and relationship. Adult children often share different aspects of their lives with their partners than they do with their parents, and this doesn't necessarily indicate deception or problems that require your immediate intervention. The goal right now is to stabilize your own emotional state, so you can think clearly about how to proceed. It's also important to consider the context of what you heard. Was it a moment of frustration that everyone experiences in relationships? Was it something more serious that genuinely concerns you about your daughter's safety or well-being? Or was it simply private information that, while surprising to you, falls within the normal range of adult relationship dynamics? Understanding the severity and nature of what you discovered will help guide your next steps and determine whether immediate action is necessary or if this is something that requires more careful consideration over time. As difficult as it may be to accept, your adult daughter has a right to privacy in her marriage, even from you as her parent. This fundamental principle of adult relationships can be challenging for parents who have spent years being intimately involved in their child's life, making decisions together, and being their primary source of guidance and support. The transition from parenting a child to having a relationship with an adult child requires a significant shift in boundaries and expectations, and situations like this one often bring these boundary issues into sharp focus. Privacy in marriage serves several important functions that extend beyond simply keeping secrets. It allows couples to work through their problems together, to have space for vulnerability and growth, and to develop their own identity as a partnership separate from their families of origin. This doesn't mean your daughter loves you less or trusts you less. Rather, it means she's doing the healthy work of building a primary attachment with her spouse. Even when married couples share concerns or frustrations about each other with family members, they typically filter this information, sharing what they feel comfortable with and keeping other aspects private. The challenge for parents is learning to respect these boundaries while still maintaining a close, loving relationship with their adult child. This means accepting that there will be aspects of your daughter's marriage that you may never fully understand or be privy to. It means trusting that you raised her with good judgment and the ability to handle her own relationships. It also means recognizing that your role has evolved from protector and decision-maker to supporter and advisor when asked. However, privacy boundaries aren't absolute, especially when safety and well-being are concerned. If what you heard suggests your daughter is in danger, being abused, or facing a situation that could cause serious harm, then these privacy considerations may need to be balanced against your legitimate concerns for her welfare. The key is distinguishing between situations that require intervention and those that simply reflect the normal challenges and private dynamics of adult relationships. This distinction isn't always clear, and it's okay to seek guidance from counselors or other trusted advisors when you're unsure. Before deciding how to proceed, it's crucial to objectively evaluate what you actually heard and place it in proper context. This can be challenging when emotions are running high, but it's essential for making appropriate decisions about whether and how to respond. Start by writing down exactly what you heard, as precisely as you can remember it. Try to separate the actual words and content from your interpretations and emotional reactions to them. Often, when we're shocked or upset, our minds can amplify certain aspects of what we heard while minimizing others. Consider the tone and context of the conversation. Was your daughter speaking in anger or frustration during what might have been a temporary argument? Was she sharing ongoing concerns with her husband about a specific situation? Or did the content suggest something more serious like abuse, illegal activity, or imminent danger? The same words can have very different implications depending on the emotional state of the speaker and the circumstances surrounding the conversation. A heated argument between spouses looks very different from a calm discussion about serious ongoing problems. Think about your daughter's general demeanor and behavior in recent interactions with you. Have you noticed changes in her personality, mood, or physical appearance that might corroborate whatever concerns arose from the voice message? Has she seemed unusually stressed, withdrawn, or different in ways that align with what you heard? Conversely, has she appeared happy and healthy in your interactions, which might suggest that whatever you heard was either a temporary issue or perhaps not as serious as it initially seemed? It's also worth considering your own biases and preconceptions about your daughter's husband and their relationship. Sometimes our interpretation of ambiguous information can be colored by existing feelings or concerns we have about our child's spouse. If you've never fully warmed to your son-in-law, you might be more inclined to interpret concerning information in the worst possible light. Conversely, if you think very highly of him, you might minimize red flags that deserve attention. Try to approach this assessment as objectively as possible, perhaps by imagining how you would interpret the same information if it concerns strangers rather than your own family members. One of the most agonizing aspects of accidentally discovering concerning information about your adult child is deciding whether to acknowledge what you know or to keep it to yourself. Both choices come with significant risks and potential consequences, and there's rarely a clear, right answer that works in every situation. The decision becomes even more complex when you consider the various ways your response could affect your relationship with your daughter, her marriage, and your family dynamics overall. If you choose to speak up, you risk several potential negative outcomes. Your daughter may feel violated that her privacy was breached, even though it was accidental. She might become defensive about her relationship and less likely to confide in you in the future. There's also the possibility that your intervention could make her situation worse, especially if she's dealing with a controlling or abusive partner who might restrict her communications or relationships as a result of your involvement. Additionally, if you misinterpreted what you heard, speaking up could damage trust and create unnecessary conflict in your relationship. On the other hand, staying silent carries its own risks and moral complexities. If your daughter is genuinely in trouble and needs support, your silence could be interpreted as indifference or lack of care when the truth eventually comes out. You might miss an opportunity to help her during a critical time in her life. There's also the psychological burden of carrying this knowledge alone, which can affect your own mental health and your ability to interact naturally with your daughter and her husband. Some parents find that keeping such secrets creates a barrier in their relationship that's difficult to overcome. The decision often depends on the severity of what you discovered and your assessment of your daughter's ability to handle whatever situation she's facing. If the content of the message suggested immediate danger or severe distress, the scales tip toward intervention despite the risks. If it seemed to reflect normal relationship challenges or temporary frustrations, maintaining privacy might be the more appropriate choice. Consider also your daughter's personality and your relationship history. Is she someone who typically seeks advice when she's struggling, or does she prefer to handle things independently? Has she shown good judgment in managing difficult situations in the past? If you decide that the situation warrants a conversation with your daughter, the approach you take will largely determine whether this becomes a constructive dialogue or a relationship-damaging confrontation. The goal should be to express your care and concern while respecting her autonomy and avoiding accusations or judgments about her choices. This requires careful thought about timing, setting, and the specific words you'll use to open this difficult conversation. Begin by choosing an appropriate time and place for the conversation. This should be a private setting where your daughter feels comfortable and safe, and where you won't be interrupted or rushed. Avoid bringing up the topic during family gatherings, holidays, or other times when emotions might already be running high or when others might overhear. Consider whether a phone call, in-person visit, or even a written message might be most appropriate based on your daughter's communication preferences and your geographical proximity. When you do begin the conversation, lead with love and concern rather than with what you heard. You might start by saying something like, "I've been thinking about you lately and wondering how you're doing. I want you to know that I love you, and I'm here if you ever need to talk." This creates an opening for her to share what's on her mind without immediately putting her on the defensive. If she doesn't volunteer information that addresses your concerns, you can gently probe by asking about her overall happiness, stress levels, or how things are going in her marriage. Only if these gentle approaches don't provide reassurance should you consider directly acknowledging what you heard. When you do, frame it as an accident and express genuine regret about the privacy breach. You might say something like, "I need to tell you that I accidentally received a voice message that I think was meant for husband's name. I'm sorry this happened, and I don't want to invade your privacy, but some of what I heard made me concerned about your well-being. Can we talk about whether you're okay, and if there's anything I can do to support you?" This approach acknowledges the awkwardness of the situation while focusing on your genuine concern for her welfare. Once you've opened the conversation with your daughter, your role becomes that of a supportive listener and resource rather than a problem solver or decision maker. This distinction is crucial for maintaining her trust and autonomy while still providing the parental support she may need. Many parents struggle with this balance, wanting desperately to fix their adult child's problems while recognizing that doing so could undermine their child's ability to handle their own life challenges. Active listening is perhaps the most valuable skill you can employ in this situation. This means giving your daughter your full attention, avoiding interruptions, and resisting the urge to immediately offer advice or solutions. Ask open-ended questions that help her articulate her thoughts and feelings. "How are you feeling about all of this?" Or, "What do you think would be most helpful right now?" These questions demonstrate that you respect her perspective and trust her judgment, even when you're concerned about her situation. Validate her emotions and experiences without necessarily agreeing with all of her choices. You can say things like, "That sounds really difficult," or "I can understand why you'd feel frustrated," even if you think she might be handling the situation differently than you would. This validation helps her feel heard and supported, which often makes people more open to considering different perspectives or accepting help when they're ready for it. Offer specific types of support rather than vague promises to help. Instead of saying, "Let me know if there's anything I can do," consider offering concrete assistance. "Would it help if I watch the kids this weekend so you two could have some time to talk?" Or, "I'm happy to help you research counselors if you think that might be useful." Be prepared for her to decline your offers and respect those boundaries without taking it personally. Sometimes the most supportive thing you can do is simply let your daughter know that you're available if and when she decides she wants help. It's also important to avoid making demands or ultimatums about what she should do. Phrases like "you need to" or "you have to" are likely to trigger defensiveness and resistance, even when your suggestions are reasonable. Instead, frame your thoughts as concerns or observations. "I worry that," or "it seems like." This approach invites dialogue rather than creating a power struggle. There are certain circumstances where the situation may be serious enough to warrant seeking professional help, either for your daughter directly or for yourself in determining how to best support her. Recognizing when you've reached the limits of what you can handle as a parent is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of wisdom and responsible care. Professional interventions can range from family counseling to specialized domestic violence resources, depending on the nature of your concerns. If what you heard suggests that your daughter is experiencing domestic violence, emotional abuse, or other forms of harm within her marriage, it's important to understand that these situations require specialized knowledge and careful handling. Well-meaning family interventions can sometimes escalate dangerous situations or push victims further into isolation. Consider contacting a domestic violence hotline or counselor who specializes in abuse situations to get guidance on how to best support your daughter while keeping her safe. Mental health concerns also warrant professional attention. If your daughter seems to be struggling with depression, anxiety, substance abuse, or other psychological issues that are affecting her marriage and overall well-being, encourage her to speak with a mental health professional. You might offer to help her find a therapist, accompany her to an appointment, or even attend family counseling sessions together if she's open to it. Sometimes having professional guidance can help families navigate complex relationship dynamics more effectively than trying to handle everything independently. Don't overlook the potential benefit of seeking counseling for yourself during this challenging time. A therapist can help you process your own emotions about the situation, develop strategies for supporting your daughter while respecting appropriate boundaries, and cope with the stress and worry that naturally accompany parental concern. Many parents find that having their own therapeutic support actually makes them more effective in helping their adult children because they're better able to manage their own emotional reactions. Consider also whether couples counseling might be appropriate to suggest to your daughter and her husband. Many relationship challenges that seem overwhelming to the people experiencing them can be successfully addressed with professional guidance. However, it's important to let the suggestion come from your daughter rather than pressuring her to seek counseling. You might plant the seed by mentioning that many couples find counseling helpful for communication issues, but ultimately the decision to pursue it must be theirs. Throughout this entire process, it's essential to acknowledge and address your own emotional needs and reactions. Discovering concerning information about your adult child's life can trigger a complex array of feelings, including helplessness, guilt, anger, sadness, and fear. These emotions are natural and valid, but they need to be processed in healthy ways that don't inadvertently make the situation more difficult for your daughter or damage your relationship with her. Many parents experience a profound sense of helplessness when they realize their adult child is facing challenges they cannot directly fix. This can be particularly difficult if you've spent years being able to solve your child's problems and protect them from harm. The transition to supporting rather than rescuing requires a fundamental shift in how you view your parental role, and this adjustment can be emotionally challenging. It's important to grieve this change in your relationship dynamic while also embracing the new ways you can be supportive and meaningful in your adult child's life. Guilt is another common emotion parents face in these situations. You might find yourself wondering if you somehow failed to prepare your daughter adequately for adult relationships, or questioning whether you should have seen warning signs earlier. While some self-reflection can be valuable, excessive guilt is generally counterproductive and can prevent you from being as supportive as you'd like to be. Remember that adult children make their own choices, and even the best parenting cannot prevent all of life's difficulties. Consider developing healthy coping strategies for managing your worry and stress about the situation. This might include regular exercise, meditation, journaling, or talking with trusted friends or family members, while respecting your daughter's privacy. Some parents find it helpful to set specific times for worrying about their adult children's problems, allowing themselves to feel concerned during those designated periods while consciously redirecting their thoughts at other times. It's also important to maintain perspective about your own life and relationships during this time. While your concern for your daughter is natural and important, it shouldn't completely consume your emotional energy or prevent you from attending to other relationships and responsibilities. Taking care of yourself emotionally and physically actually enhances your ability to be a good source of support for your daughter when she needs it. The situation you're facing doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a broader network of family relationships that may all be affected by how you choose to handle your discovery. This includes your relationship with your son-in-law, other family members who might be aware of or affected by the situation, and the overall family dynamics that will continue long after this particular crisis has passed. Thinking strategically about these relationships can help you make decisions that support not just your daughter's immediate well-being, but also the long-term health of your family connections. Your relationship with your daughter's husband deserves particular consideration. Depending on what you discovered, you may be struggling with changed feelings toward him, ranging from disappointment to anger to genuine concern for his well-being too. It's important to remember that marriages are complex, and what might seem clearly problematic from the outside may have nuances and context that you don't fully understand. Even if your son-in-law has made mistakes or poor choices, maintaining some level of civil relationship with him is usually in your daughter's best interest, especially if they work through their problems and stay together. If you have other children or close family members, consider how your response to this situation might affect them as well. Adult siblings often have their own relationships and perspectives on each other's marriages, and they may have insights or concerns that could be valuable. However, be very careful about sharing private information about your daughter's situation with other family members without her explicit permission. Even well-meaning family discussions can sometimes escalate problems or create additional stress for everyone involved. Consider also the potential long-term consequences of your actions on family gatherings, holidays, and other shared experiences. If your intervention creates ongoing tension or conflict, it could affect not just your relationship with your daughter and son-in-law, but also the comfort and dynamics of extended family interactions. This doesn't mean you should avoid necessary conversations or interventions, but it does mean thinking carefully about how to handle them in ways that minimize lasting damage to family relationships. Grandchildren, if they're part of the picture, add another layer of complexity to consider. Your primary concern should always be their safety and well-being, but you also want to maintain your relationship with them regardless of what happens between their parents. Sometimes this means walking a careful line between supporting your daughter and maintaining neutrality that allows you to continue being a positive presence in your grandchildren's lives. Regardless of how the immediate situation resolves, there will likely be a period of adjustment and relationship repair that follows your discovery and whatever actions you chose to take. This is natural and expected, even when everyone handles the situation as well as possible. Moving forward successfully requires patience, continued communication, and a commitment to learning from the experience while strengthening your family relationships. If your daughter and son-in-law work through their problems, your role becomes one of supporting their reconciliation without dwelling on the past difficulties you became aware of. This can be challenging, especially if you are deeply concerned about your daughter's well-being. It requires a conscious choice to trust their judgment and respect their decision to repair their relationship, even if you might have chosen differently in their situation. Focus on being positive and welcoming, while avoiding references to the problems you learned about unless your daughter specifically wants to discuss them. In cases where your daughter decides to end her marriage or make other significant life changes, your support becomes even more crucial. This might involve practical assistance with housing, childcare, or financial matters, as well as emotional support during what is likely to be a very difficult transition. However, continue to balance your desire to help with respect for her autonomy and decision-making ability. Ask what she needs rather than assuming you know what's best for her situation. The experience may also lead to important conversations about communication patterns and boundaries in your relationship with your adult daughter. This could be an opportunity to discuss how you can better support each other while respecting privacy and independence. Some families find that going through difficult situations together ultimately strengthens their relationships by creating new levels of honesty and understanding. Finally, use this experience as an opportunity for personal growth and reflection about your own evolution as a parent of adult children. Consider what you've learned about supporting versus controlling, about trust and boundaries, and about the complexities of adult relationships. These insights will serve you well not just in your ongoing relationship with this daughter, but in all of your family relationships as you continue to navigate the challenges and joys of being a parent whose children are building their own adult lives. Remember that love, patience, and respect remain the foundational elements of strong family relationships, even when those relationships face serious challenges and changes.